Hello and welcome to another edition of AttractWell Office Hours. I'm Coach Ashley, joined today by founder of AttractWell, Greg Kilwine. Hey, Greg.
Hey, everybody. We're so glad you're here today.
We're thrilled to have you. Really looking forward to helping you simplify how you approach a couple of key things in your business. We're going to be getting into those here shortly, but just a quick bit of housekeeping. We are excited to offer this as a free service to the community. This is a weekly call where we can get together every Thursday at 2 p.m. Eastern time to discuss ways to, of course, use your AttractWell system, but also, just to help you do better in business and to create a business that works for you and not one that feels like a job. We want something that's going to flow and to be fun and worth doing, and of course, to be wildly successful. And so we talk about all kinds of different topics related to this on these calls. We do have the recordings of these calls on our YouTube channel where you may be accessing this as a recording in the future. But you'll find on our calls a lot of great opportunities to connect with others, to get help with lots of different questions that might come up in your business. And of course, to better learn how to use the best all-in-one tool to run your business, AttractWell. So today, we're going to be getting into the three things that we tend to complicate most in our business. And when I say complicate, it really kind of is making a mountain out of a molehill. And it's really a lot of stuff that's right here, right? We will get into some more specific how we complicate with tech. I mean, I think a lot of us do complicate with tech, and that's why you find yourself at AttractWell, because you need a bunch of things for your business and you're tired of trying to manage 27 of them when you could just have one tool that does it all. But anyway, without further ado, we're going to get into our content here. And then, of course, we do also have a couple of live work calls scheduled. If you would like to be on a live work session like this one where we work together in the future, you can secure a space, dedicated space for yourself on an upcoming call by going to attractwell.com/work-review. And you can sign up there, let us know what you're looking for help with. And then, of course, we can sit down and look at stuff together with you. Let me get over into the chat and see who's here. We're so thrilled to have you. Hi, good evening from France. Hello, good morning from California. We've got Northern Michigan, Ontario. I hope where it is snowy, you guys are safe and warm today. Portland, Oregon, Minnesota, Florida, Buffalo. Melissa, best wishes to you. Very, very concerned with what I've been seeing going on in Buffalo for the last week or so. So glad you're safe and warm. All right, so who would like to maybe take a guess at maybe one of the three things that you might be overcomplicating in your business? What's something that you feel is maybe keeping you stuck or keeping you from moving ahead or getting to where you want to be? What are some things that you think that we might be touching on today? Everything. Niche, systems, lead magnets, finding clients, tech. Yeah. Okay. Process. Wanting everything to be perfect. Oh, you hit on something just really significant there, Susan. The connection between my brand and my affiliate company, like a 4-week freebie. Oh, interesting. All right. Well, let's go ahead and get into the first one. And actually, I think our first, not the everything, but I think actually one of our first TL says niche. That's actually very much in the neighborhood of the first topic that I want to chat with you guys about today. And that is your avatar or your target market, right? So one of the things that we can really get hung up on in the beginning is, who am I here for? Because we do know that we're not here for everybody. And once you know that you're supposed to get more specific, it can become kind of scary because you feel like you're putting yourself into a box potentially by narrowing down who it is that you want to serve. And so this is very much a mindset thing. And I'll give you a couple of quick notes here. The first one is The idea of a niche or target market is kind of antiquated in the age of social media and social media driven marketing. People expect to connect personally on a level with a brand that they buy from, and you are a brand, right? And so what we really want to kind of shift toward thinking is not, here is a swath or a section of a market, right? What we want to be thinking is, who is this person? A person, right? We need to think about this in the form of a human, one, and then we also need to communicate as though we are communicating with a human, one, right? And so this is an important thing to get started with. Now, we get hung up on this, especially in the beginning. Maybe you are somebody who serves a fairly broad range of people, right? So maybe you work with moms, but maybe you also work with people who are not moms, right? Maybe you work with 17-year-olds and 74-year-olds. What's important for you to know is that with attraction marketing, which is a lot of the basis for which we teach, right? We talk about paying it forward, pull marketing versus push marketing. And one of the components here of attraction marketing is setting intention and then putting yourself out into the world as a beacon to attract the kind of ideal person, right? And so when you're, I don't know, how many of you have attracted a client to you or a lead to you that you were maybe a little surprised that was someone who found their way to you and really liked your stuff? Like, has anybody had that? This is something that threw me for a loop when I was much younger and just getting started in this industry. I was a brand new single mom. I was convinced that I was going to attract other single moms who were, you know, on the struggle bus and trying to get their life figured out with a toddler, right? I worked with exactly 0 of them. And the majority of people that I attracted were my parents' age. Does that sound familiar? Right? So with that, we should understand that our target client, our ideal client, it's not a thing that's set in stone. And you don't always know exactly who it is that's going to be attracted to you. Sometimes it's just a vibe, right? Sometimes you can say, you know what, I'm looking for people between the ages of 25 and 50, or 25 and 35, who are dealing with this very specific thing, right? Or if we're talking about new college graduates, that's going to tend to be a pretty specific category of people, right? And that's cool. But sometimes it's not. And you need to trust that a vibe, for lack of a better word, a vibe is kind of enough, right? Where you can actually share similar traits, similar attractions to things. And a lot of this stuff is unspoken. So what I want to encourage you to do is to kind of loosen up a little bit on it. Don't worry too much about feeling unclear about who your ideal person is, and just start getting out there in the world and putting yourself out there, in particular on social media, putting content out there that you know would vibe with your ideal person. Assume you know them and they're sitting in the room with you. Do what you would do for them. Speak like you would speak to them. And when you start doing that, this is very similar to, if any of you have been in any sales training, it's similar to assuming the close, right? And assuming the close, you're asking questions and operating as if somebody is definitely going to do this, no question, and they're going to pay and they're going to be your new client or whatever, right? Speak to people as though they're your perfect clients. And the ones who are do tend to show up and reveal themselves, right? So sometimes if you feel like you're getting caught up, hung up on the details, the best thing to do is to just take action, right? Just take action and start doing the stuff that you would be doing anyway without second guessing yourself. And let me see, Melody says the first lady that gave me a breakthrough, her niche was freeing corporate women, but she helped me so much and I'm a farm girl. There you go. Yeah. that's kind of the funny thing. And actually, no, it's funny. I was chatting with a client of mine who is also very well, she's a ranch girl. And but she's, you know, she doesn't want to just brand herself as, you know, somebody who helps women in ag, because she doesn't just help women in ag. She helps women in business, and she, you know, cities and women from big cities in Texas work with her, right? So I want you to, you know, just consider that if it feels a little weird on paper, it's okay. There's you know, unless you're doing paid advertising on social media, this isn't really something that you have to worry too much about drilling into and getting perfect. And it is something that's going to evolve over time with your content that you're creating and the people who are attracted to it, right? Is that making sense? With that said, you guys come into the comments and tell me a little bit about the person that you really want in your business. They don't necessarily have to be a gender, right? Maybe you do know for sure it's going to be women. I want it to be women, and that's fine, or men, and that's fine. But maybe you want people who think a certain way, right? Or people who are wired a particular way. You know, if somebody were to see this thing, they would react this way to it. That's my person. That's enough to start with. Working with people going through chemo, that's a very specific thing. Small business owner in the wellness industry looking to grow. Love it. Women over 50 who are trying to reinvent themselves after children have left home. That's beautiful. All of these are the perfect place to start. And what you're going to find, the more that you put yourself out there and get your content out there and continue really speaking your brand into life and your content and in your presence, you're going to find out, Melody, for instance, that these women who are trying to reinvent themselves as empty nesters, they probably have another thing in common that you haven't discovered yet, right? You know, maybe these are all women who really appreciate humor, or maybe they, you know, are all, you know, of a particular inclination or belief system. Or you find that you get something out of working with people, something more out of working with people who are a certain thing. Mark says, my niche found me. I taught college business for years and years and thought I would do that. The people who find me are going through a life transition of some kind or another. I love it. Personal professional leaders that feel stagnant and status quo. Attorney coaching attorneys. And you may find again that, you know, in coaching attorneys, you might eventually find that you get great fulfillment out of and work particularly well with, you know, not necessarily a specialty, you know, an attorney who has a particular specialty, but maybe it's an attorney that has a particular sort of guiding philosophy, right? And that's all fine. You don't have to know all of this, I think, is the main point. We overcomplicate this because we feel like we must have this figured out in order to move forward, and we just don't. We absolutely don't. If this is something that you feel has been holding you back, let it go and just do the work that you know you're supposed to do. And the sharpening of this will come with action. I want to work with creatives who want to build a holistic career in music and arts. Oh, beautiful. So you are working with creatives. And when you say holistic career, I think that there's something interesting that we could tap into there, and how those people self-identify. Maybe these are creatives who are a little crunchy, right? Maybe they're, you know, they're into specifically like a holistic lifestyle. Maybe there's more to your content than just, you know, starting a career, excuse me, or continuing a career in that field. Maybe it's also that that they are you know, they're looking for greater balance, right? If they're just starting their business, they need a good work-life balance, or if they've been in business for a while but it's kind of running them ragged, they need that life balance that maybe you can help them to achieve. All right, so that's our first one. Our second one is our offer. How many of us have an offer created? Right. I know a lot of us do one-on-one work with clients, right? So you sell a package of calls or call by call basis. how many of us have an offer that is fully drawn out and we know exactly what it is? Lynn has a free and a paid. So an offer being here, I would say like a program. This one is your sticking point, Melody. Yeah. So TL, you have a few. Yep. Awesome. Working on it. So our offer is something that we can overcomplicate in a considerable way. And the reason why most of us overcomplicate our offer is because A, we're doubting ourselves, or B, or probably B is a combination of A and B, is that we're comparing ourselves to others. We think that because we saw somebody have a program of X kind that did whatever thing, that that's something that we need to have too to be successful. And again, what you'll find, unless you are in a competing space with that person that you're comparing yourself to, whatever their program is, the format of it, the way it's set up, that's not set up for your clients. The best thing to do is to set up something that is for your people. And the best way to do that is brick by brick, one solution at a time. And this is why I created the AttractWell Pipeline Igniter. And this is something that you all have the opportunity to purchase when you get started with us. And we also, I think we could pop a link in here to that as well, if you want, Greg. Thank you. So the AttractWell Pipeline Igniter is something that you should go through if you haven't gone through yet, especially if you are in the process of creating a program, or it's something that you know you want to do, but you don't know where to start. All a program is a codified process where you're selling the outcome, right? It's just, you're selling the outcome, and the outcome is delivered the same way every time. That's a program. That could look a lot of different ways, but the most important way for it to look is how your clients need it, right? So let's just say, for instance, right now, you are working with clients on a one-on-one basis, and that's great. There are specific outcomes that you're working with clients on, right? So if you're working with a client on an outcome, like, let's just actually, can someone give me an example here in the chat? What is an outcome that you help a client achieve? So maybe a client you're currently working with. What, if you have a program, what's the outcome of the program? Or if you're doing one-on-ones, what is the goal that you're helping your client to reach? Okay, playing piano. Here's a great example. Okay, so playing piano, the outcome is we want to be confident, right? We want to know the scales. We want to be able to read music. There's a lot that goes into playing piano, right? So you probably have a process. If somebody's coming to you completely green, they have never played piano before, you are probably going to be teaching them some music theory, right? So in order for us to know what we're doing, we first need to know what are notes, what are scales, and and then how do these things look on paper, right? And then we can start relating those to the keys, right? Or maybe you go straight to the keys and you just start with chords. Here's C, here's A minor, whatever, right? So each of those are outcomes. Now you could, and in your case, this wouldn't really be super realistic. You could just sell, a what are notes? Here's our call, right? But that really is a better fit for a part of a program. And so it makes sense that in phase one of your program, you are doing, here's, basic music theory. You don't want to get too far into like time signatures and things like that and overwhelm them with a fire hose of information in the first, in the first setting. You really want to get them basically from learning enough of what is to actually start taking action, because that's what's going to keep them engaged, coming back and feeling successful with this, because their goal is to play piano, right? Not to write music necessarily always, right? So your program needs to fulfill a logical progression, like what we're talking about here in the case of teaching piano. Now, the way that we complicate this is first, well, there's a lot of ways that we can do that, but one of the major ways that we complicate something like this is that, again, we'll think about what we've seen other coaches tell us to do or sell us information on doing, or this is the formula that you absolutely must follow, etc. The way that we mess this up is by assuming that it needs to be anything other than exactly what you knew it needed to be in the first place. And if you haven't had 5 or 10 people successfully go through that first iteration of it, you don't know what it needs, right? So stick to it, go with your gut, and and actually let it be what it is first before you start adding complications to it. So most people give up because they feel overwhelmed. That's right. Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people give up, and I'm just going to speak for myself here because I'm trained vocal musician. I read music, but I never learned to play piano. I didn't have the patience for it. But I think that part of the issue for me, and this is an important thing for you to know in developing your programs, you got to know what the pitfalls are. Why do people not do this? Why do they do this and give up, right? For me in particular, I wasn't able to get to the point where I could do what I really wanted to do. So the outcome of playing piano wasn't what I wanted. I wanted to be able to play a particular song, right? Like that was where it started for me. So if my goal is to play that song, I don't want to learn 5 years worth of, of music theory when you could just sit down and show me where my hands go, right? And I know this isn't the best analogy here because it's obviously also not the best way to teach someone to become a piano player necessarily. But if we do want to make sure that their outcome is what's in mind here, the one that they want. And a lot of the times people are looking for something general. If somebody wants to lose weight, why do they want to lose weight? They want to lose weight because they want to feel confident. They want to feel like themselves again. They want to live that revenge life after breakup or something. You know what I mean? So if your program is set up in such a way that it is a fire hose, people aren't going to finish it, right? And then it's also, I think it's also important that you are flexible in how you're setting it up in the first place. And again, going back to the pipeline igniter, the goal of it after you sort of outlined who is my person, what am I, what is my person, what's important to them, and then how do I help them get it? Basically what you're doing there when you are outlining your offer in the pipeline igniter is you're creating the basis of a program. And it could be that outcome number 1 is, and going back to your case here, Yulia, it could be that outcome number 1 is music theory, just basic music theory is number 1, because if we're going to read sheet music so that we can play piano, we do need to know these main things. Here's where we start, right? Now that, if you set it up the right way, that can be its own course, right? Music theory can be its own course that is a prerequisite to the piano instruction. And you could actually break this up into smaller pieces. Now, everybody's client is not going to necessarily want or need more bite-sized information like that. But if you do have a history of seeing clients give up, then it might be a better idea to get them a win by creating smaller form content, right? The final thing I want to say about complicating our program is that so many of us, and this is a comparison thing, where we compare ourselves to others, right? The number 1 way we complicate programs is by assuming that it's not worth launching unless it's the big thing, right? The big to do, the great big, here is my master signature, whatever. That you want to have a program like Marie Forleo has programs. Well, good girl, but that's not how she started, right? Marie Forleo sells copywriting courses for like $1,200, $1,400, right? And she's able to do that because she laid a bunch of bricks on that path already, right? You're not going to come out of the gate with your first launch in business being Marie Forleo, assuming, if you're a business coach, you're not just going to open your website tomorrow and be a Marie Forleo. She built that over a decade, right? And so you can obviously learn from the success that you see, but don't forget that the stuff that you need to do is the same stuff that they did before. It's just not the sexy stuff that they're putting into products and programs and selling you right now. You don't need to have some, monster high ticket thing unless you know that your clients actually need that monster high ticket thing and your clients have the money for it and you feel confident selling it. If it's what I'm not saying don't do it, but it's not what you have to do. You can launch a baby program. Pipeline Igniter, we put together in like half a week. And we literally charge I think $47 is the price point on it. We could charge way more for it, sure. But, for our purpose, we're not trying to nickel and dime you because, well, I mean, that's what you've been doing, subscribing to 7 different software companies to run your business, right? Like we want you to be successful with us and stick with us. So it makes sense for us to offer little baby products and programs that you can get and invest in yourself and your skills so that you can grow and be more effective with us. All right. Does that make sense, you guys? Be good with small. The way to build a strong, sustainable, scalable business is to take small steps and to do them right. And then once those small steps work right, you're codifying that into a system. Now that can run more efficiently and that plate is spinning and you don't have to worry about it. Now you can focus on the next thing, right? That's kind of what we're doing. We're creating sort of plate spinning situations here. And you got to get the first one going before you do the next one. You're not going to be spinning 10 plates at once out of the gate. And that's okay. It's better for you to get really good at one at a time so that you can really create that significant result for you and of course for your clients without, again, feeling like you need to compare yourself to a Marie Forleo or whomever. All right, the final piece here, and I definitely saw a little bit of this in some of the guesses here. The final thing that we tend to complicate the absolute most is putting ourselves out there, right? And this is specifically, how we launch things. And this again, this pointing back to the AttractWell pipeline igniter here, the way that you launch is not the, oh my gosh, this is a tangent for me. It's not the big guru launch thing where, oh, the cart's going to close and oh, here's the countdown timer and here's the webinar that's going to explode in 27 seconds or whatever. Those things aren't necessary, right? If that jives with you and you want something like that, of course, by all means, do you. I have, nothing against you doing that if you like that. But the fact is that you can build a quiet fortune by just doing things logically. You don't have to go and, and make yourself into like a celebrity, launch guru or something like that to put yourself out there effectively. Again, if you have something that you offer, the best thing you can do is find one person, get a phenomenal result with them, record it if possible, to work with them if it makes sense and it's, not too confidential, and get their testimony and their case study. And then do it again and do that for each of the outcomes that you achieve for someone. And now you've got proof of concept across the board, glowing reviews about every stage of the process. You've identified the reasons why people say no to themselves in their work with you, which is really important, right? We can win a client, but we want to keep them and we want them to get a result, right? So that's not something that we always really think about. So we have to actually give focus. Once we have said, okay, I help people learn piano. Well, how do I help them learn piano? Here are the 7 things that I do. Well, now it's time to work with someone through to completion, through to proficiency or whatever the outcome or metric is for each of those 7 things. Record your work with them because you could use that as an instructional video, for instance. And now you've got instant course material. And then, of course, you've got their case study, their testimonial, and you start to see facts and figures arise as well. I can help you. Excuse me, I can help you do this in this amount of time. And that's enormous, right? So that's really the best way to build and launch yourself sustainably. And it does sound kind of like a crawl, but what baby came out of the womb running, right? Like this is your business has to grow and evolve, and we can't necessarily skip these steps, right? So don't think that you have to launch something super complicated if you've never launched something before. If you have launched something before and you know what works, by all means, obviously, I'm not saying don't do that. But I think where a lot of us get hung up and don't launch, right, is because we believe that it needs to be something that it just doesn't have to be. Well, video of my students playing work as a case study. Yeah. And even better if you can say, this person is this old and here's how long it took them to get to this point, right? Because it matters to people when they're choosing to set off, with a goal to do something. If you've got proof that you achieved something inside of an amount of time that's valuable to that person, man, you're good. They're gonna love that. So yeah, absolutely. Obviously, you want to get consent, and then that's going to be some, and there's the story as well. Have the video, that's fine, but make sure you have the story. If you can get it in their words, even better, right? If they've tried this before and it didn't work for them, why? So you can talk about how you're different, etc. So the final thing that I want to say to you guys here, and I think this is kind of a theme for all three of these things. You're here today because you know what you're doing, right? Because we're introducing technology and putting ourselves on the internet should not make that extraordinarily complicated. Every tool that you can use or function you can use in your AttractWell system, for instance, is something that has a logical connection to a need that your business has, right? And your business, as it is right now, is exactly where it needs to be right now, while you're taking the actions that you're taking. If you need to make money right now and you need to get your business off the ground, get a client, right? Find a one. Don't try to launch a group program if you don't have a group of clients currently, right? You'll get to where you want to go. Don't expect to skip steps. Trust the process and trust that it is a process. You are a work in progress. Your business will always be a work in progress. You will always be refining and improving and changing what it is that you're doing so that it gets better. So I hope that this has been encouraging to you. I hope that this might take a little bit of stress off of you as you might feel like you're stuck in different ways. Trust the process and know that doing the work is really the most freeing thing. That's what's going to really get you the results. If you're stuck on who your person is, continue putting yourself out there and pay attention to who's showing up. Your person is showing up, right? If you're feeling stuck on your offer, take a step back. What problem does it solve? Does it need to be broken up into smaller pieces? You can have baby programs, that's cool, right? You could sell them as a bundle. And always be okay with the work in progress. You don't have to have, for your very first program or product, you don't need to spend $10,000 on getting, videos professionally done. You just don't have to do that. You literally don't have to do that. My very first product that I ever sold was a live webinar recording in 2012, maybe 2011, 2012. It was the first time I ever made money on the internet. And people loved it. And so I kept doing it, just doing the same thing. I didn't edit the recording. I didn't know how to. I took PayPal and I sent them a link to a file that they could download, and it worked, right? Obviously, that's not the most attractive or glamorous thing, but it worked. Reward yourself for your work and then do more of it. and understand that this is all an evolution, right? You're going to progress. And of course, if you have specific questions, right? If you want to know, like, okay, well, I know that my clients need this, therefore my program needs to be this. Cool. Well, it doesn't sound very complicated, does it? It's pretty logical. At that point, you need to consult the experts, get on one of these calls, or watch some of our trainings, get in touch with our team, or even have our team build some cool stuff for you. All right, so we do have 2 people who signed up for a live review, and I want to bring you out to chat. Let me see, I'm on today. All right, TL, are you here? Can you raise your hand for me? Perfect. I'm going to bring you out to chat. And then we're going to bring Abigail out after. Hey there.
Hiya, you folks hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Good to have you.
Excellent. Good to be here. It's really nice to finally get to speak to you folks face to face. Well, one way face to face anyway.
Yeah.
So I actually built a bit of a chart. I was wondering if I would be allowed to share my screen with you because I have so many questions. I was worried I might get all muddled up, so I kind of put it down on paper.
I think you might be able to. I'm not 100% sure.
Let me check.
See.
I don't see the share screen button anywhere.
Okay, here I'm going to promote you to panelist here,
Oh,
and you should be able to do that now. There we go. It looks like you're muted.
You folks still hear me?
Uh-huh.
Excellent. I'm gonna. Oh, it says host disabled, participant screen sharing though.
All right. So here we'll put it right. All right, there we go. You should be able to do it now.
Yep. Okay. Thank you. Okay. I apologize. I don't want to hog all your time. I know you have all this here, but these are my headers which I want to get into. If at any point you feel that this is too much, I'm happy to pick this up on another call in the coming weeks. But I'll start over here with my overall question marks. I'll start with this, my teaching background. Here's what I'm struggling with the most, and I really need a little bit of clarity on. When I heard you talk with regards to Julia's ideas, for example, every time you would tell me you were citing these examples, I was like, hey, I know how to solve that. I know how to solve this. The reason that's happening is I have about 15 years of professional teaching experience, and I was appointed as HOD of a specific department at a music conservatory. And over the years, they just sent me an extremely eclectic group of students. Some of them will want to learn how to accompany themselves at the piano. Others will want to learn songwriting. Some will want to learn how to get their, timing up in a band situation. And others would struggle with general mindset issues, really. And this kind of sounds really embarrassing when I say it, but I ended up helping them all, and I was pretty decent at it. Except the process was the other way around. They'd always come with their problems, with their pain points, and I'd figure out solutions for them. So in that situation, I'd like to think I thrive. If people come to me with their pain points, I tend to be pretty decent at solving them. Now, when I quit that job, for the first time, I was in a position where I had to flip the whole thing, and I realized, wow, I have this 15 years list of pain points I've been solving for people, but I don't know which I am supposed to start off with as my niche. Yeah, well, hence the second, this is me thinking out loud. You think I ought to be really successful already, pardon my French, because I also have, so especially when the pandemic hit, I was like, hey, teaching online is exactly what I'm built to do, because one, I have a background of a recording artist as well. So the tech, well, the music tech anyway, is something pretty easy for me to do. And I've had all these years of educating experience. Except now that I'm at a point where I think, hey, this is kind of, I got this, except I'm kind of overwhelmed. I feel like I ought to have got this, but every time I get into the macro of it, the micro of it, I'm like, wow, this is a little more confusing than I thought because I'm in the thick of it. So with distance, every time I attend your videos, by the way, are really amazing. And all the advice you just gave, all of it resonates. Except when I try and go implement these ideas tomorrow, the chances I'm going to be, wow, where do I start again? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. Are you worried about painting yourself into a corner? Is that a concern of yours?
It might be. I'm so confused at this point. I'd be happy to listen to your opinion on it. If it is a fear, it's not one I can see.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. You're just kind of lost in the forest then in that case. Lots of options, but where to go first? So
yes,
I always encourage at a stage like this, and this kind of goes along, I think, with a lot of the advice that I've been giving on today's call, is to just pick a direction and start walking.
Yeah.
You're going to still be able to, because this is your personal brand, you're going to still be able to broaden and expand the things that you offer. What I would look for is sort of a cross section or a Venn diagram, if you will, where one circle is problems I solve, and the other circle is people who have money that want to solve those problems. And think about literal people who are in your life that you're connected to in your network, who might actually be or represent that person. And then I would, following the steps in the pipeline igniter, get clear on who that person is. What are the metrics or the currencies that are important to them, things they want to achieve, get more of, less of, and then of course, outline your plan for how you help them get that outcome and get their case study. That then you could choose to do, now that you've walked through, you've got your proof of concept. You could launch that as a workshop if you wanted to, that would be fine. Or you could go find another client, or, now that you can say, this is who I help, this is how I do it, and here's what the result looks like for someone, that from there you can actually start pounding the pavement, and networking and connecting and getting referrals into your program. I could see referrals being something pretty powerful for you, for sure, just because it's sort of niche. But I would just pick one thing, pick one outcome.
Okay, if I turn my video on, by the way? Sorry, but I wasn't sure about house rules.
Oh yeah, it's fine. You're welcome to. Cool. Yeah, that's fine. So yeah, I would just pick one and go for it. What's a problem that you can solve that is worth money to someone, ideally someone you already know, and approach them and say, I help people solve these problems. I would normally charge this much. I am, I'm beta testing right now, or whatever, for lack of better words you want to call it. And I would love to work with you on this in exchange for your testimonial, or at a reduced rate, or however you want to do it. And you're basically proving, you're proving your program.
Yeah. That's exactly what I started off doing, actually. It's funny that you mentioned that. I got 3 leads today.
Oh,
may I give you, that was actually based on advice I picked up on one of the earlier workshops. May I give you an example of 3 of the clients I'm working with at the moment?
Sure.
One of them is the head of a music institute. He's a musician / entrepreneur. He's dealing with work-life balance issues and wants to get fitter. I'm a certified personal trainer and a psychotherapist too. That's like a side. So I'm not a licensed therapist, but I use my therapeutic skills in my teaching. The second dude's a very busy, successful IT professional who learned piano from scratch from me. So he went from never having played piano to buying a decent piano at home, and is writing his own songs now over the course of 3 years. And my third client now is like a regular professional musician in Berlin who's plays session guitar, tours with pretty some major label acts. That's the diversity of clients I'm dealing with. And my fourth project is a bunch of upcoming emerging artists at a conservatory where I was visiting artists at and did workshops for. So I'm already like, even by the time I'm describing my fourth client, I'm like, wow, where do I even start? And how do I, what would you say should be my first priority here? Is it the ROI, or is it the ease, or is it the passion?
Well, that is, I mean, that's a very personal, it's a very personal distinction. I would certainly, starting out, focus on ROI, because you're going to have more to work with, right? When you have things working. Why not go for the lowest common denominator of these, and the thing that, is most, I think, broadly accessible, which is learning to play, so that you can, I think that learning to play and then writing your own music, I would see those as being two separate offerings, right? But I think that what you can basically do is just plan out maybe launching one of these things per quarter, right?
Oh.
So you launch, let's, in the first quarter 2023, let's launch the basic, piano to like learn to play. And then the second, maybe in the second quarter, you launch songwriting. Third quarter, you launch work-life balance as a musician, right? And so what you're able to do there, and again, I would really encourage you to focus on, if you have the space to do it financially, try to focus with like just one or two clients at a time on one outcome, so that you can be working with them to really perfect your process. Part of the reason why I think it's so important to start small in your work is because if we assume that we know everything that we need to know, we're failing our clients. We are not perfect teachers, none of us. And of course, different students receive us different ways. So we really have an obligation to test our work. And the best way to do that is not to, spend 6 months building a thing that you hope is going to be the perfect end all be all thing, because it's never going to be the perfect end all be all.
Absolutely.
But then of course you would go and, and have something that really is as close to the right thing as possible. So that people can, if they follow behind, they can now just watch the videos and learn, instead of having to work with you one-on-one, which frees you up to earn more money and have more clients.
That makes a lot of sense. I just had this idea of if I launched one of these courses projects every quarter, what would you say, how good an idea would you say is 6 months down the line, launching a membership wherein these students or prospective clients basically subscribe to all of these courses or individual ones?
I think it's an interesting idea, but I think that launching a membership is something that you probably want to visit after you have grown your list to, to a size, depending on the price of the membership and how specific it is and how many sales you've already made of existing programs. I don't typically recommend memberships until your business has matured quite a bit, because it takes a lot of work. It's a lot of maintenance. And if you don't have a lot of people in it to make it financially worthwhile for you, it can really steal your time and take it away from things that are more appropriate and profitable at this present stage. Or, you'll, when you get to a point, I think for a membership, when you get to a point where you have reached an impasse in your sort of time for money exchange, a membership starts to make sense. And you should definitely be hiring someone to like do the regular management for you. That's kind of, if you want to get to that point, I think you should also probably be at a point where you could hire someone.
How do you feel like how do you feel about low ticket Patreon type memberships where people are just paying $5 just to subscribe to content you're putting up? without a group, without a lot of technical commitment.
You could absolutely do that. That's a really interesting idea.
And
So it's just a premium content subscription, and you put that content in the vault. That's a great idea. You could absolutely do that with AttractWell.
With the additional prospect of using them as beta testers as well, without having to twist their arm.
I would still, if it's going to have a community aspect, I would still encourage you to really work on building up an audience, a sizable audience before you launch something like that. Because if there's going to be some degree of interaction among the people in the community, which is definitely a benefit of most memberships, even the Patreon types. But if it's crickets when they show up, then you're not really delivering on that value where that's concerned. So it is still something that I would encourage, after building up a good sized audience, an engaged audience.
That is very helpful. That's actually very helpful. And that brings me to my second question, if you have time for that.
We actually, we have one other person that had suggested or who had asked for time. I would love for you to come back on and for us to continue to go through these together.
Count on it. I will do. Thank you so much, Ashley.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. I'm going to, how do I do this? All right. I'm going to be bringing you out in just a moment, Abigail. Okay. Hello.
Hi, can you hear me?
You're very quiet, but I can.
Let me see. Now can you hear me better?
Just a little bit.
Sorry, I don't have all my stuff set up.
There we go. That's much better.
Okay. All right. Great. Well, thank you so much. This spoke directly to me, your presentation at the beginning. And I'm also so appreciative of all of the great trainings. And it's actually a downfall of mine because I would just happily, take in all of this information and watch all the recordings and learn. And, so putting myself out there is a big, piece that I know I need to do. And I understand too that a big part for me is really narrowing down on that outcome, that I'm looking to develop in my program. I'm a developmental editor. So I work with people who want to write books. Their goal is to write and publish a book. However, I'm finding my clients, traditionally developmental editors will charge a lot of money to read a whole manuscript, give a whole lot of notes, and then the writer needs to have the tools and the techniques to go and make those changes. So now as a book coach, what I'm finding is I am both editing the manuscript and then I'm going to coach them through making those changes. So that's sort of what I do. But in a nutshell, just to speed it up, because I do have, again, I appreciate so much. I'm learning on so many levels with AttractWell and with your trainings, from like mindset and funnels and flows to like the real nitty gritty technical stuff. And maybe I'll just finish out on like a real technical question that I'm having, because I'm just at the point where I'm ready to launch with AttractWell, and I'm going to get in touch with support, and because I need to just move my domain name over. But one of the things that I haven't been able to figure out is that contact me form. My phone number automatically pops up, and it's a required field, in AttractWell, but I don't necessarily want that phone number on my contact me form. So is there a way to edit that?
Yeah. So a couple of things. Number one, you don't have to have your personal cell phone number on there. If you have a business line, you can do that. And of course, with AttractWell, with the two-way texting, if you have that set up, then you can use that alternate phone number there that people can call and text.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Can you repeat that one more time? There's two-way, that's something I'd have to get separate.
Actually, no, two-way texting is something that you just need to activate in AttractWell.
See, I'm learning every time.
So you actually can get your own business phone number. And you could put that in that field. Greg, is there another workaround, of course, in the meantime, to avoid having the personal phone number there?
Yeah, I mean, it is a required field. You can also just like put a dash in there. I mean, it'll still show a number and it just won't work, obviously. But a dash will go in there. But yeah, if you were to set up the two-way texting, which is included, I was just looking at your account. It doesn't look like it's set up yet. Yeah, you just click, there's a chat link kind of in the upper right-hand corner of the AttractWell back office. Click that, it'll walk you through the process of picking out a phone number. And when you're done, you can use that phone number and put it on your website phone. You can change your phone number by clicking your name in the upper right-hand corner. Put in a new two-way texting phone number and just make sure then you have your mobile phone number in the separate mobile phone field. That one isn't shown anywhere, but if you do get an incoming call on that two-way texting number, it'll ring whatever number that you have on your mobile phone. So yeah, so either do put a dash in there or set up the two-way texting. Either one should, I think, work.
Yeah, see, every time this is why I could just watch these videos for ages. Yeah, thank you so much. That was sort of my like one nitty-gritty question. And yeah, but the other stuff, I'm getting there. And yeah, just one step in front of the other. And then I just saw a text from Allison D. I would love to connect with you. Yeah, I saw that you were working with Memoirs. So yeah. How do we connect? Maybe on Facebook, right? Go
in
over
our
to
Facebook group. Yeah. The AttractWell Facebook community would be a great place for you guys to make that connect.
All right, Allison, I'll connect with you. And thank you guys so much again for
Absolutely. Absolutely. Glad that you could be here and hope to have you on again. All right. I'm going to got one more question here. We're going to get going. Yulia, great training as always. Thank you for that. Seems like playing the piano is theme of the day. Yes. My question is how to set up a calendar to be able to schedule a trial piano lesson. So you will want to use a third-party service for this. I personally use Calendly and prefer it. Excuse me. Basically, what you'll want to do is whatever your scheduler is that you're using, you're going to get the inline embed form for that scheduler. And then you're going to, inside of a section of an AttractWell page, and I can actually go and show you. Oh, I don't have a window open. Just a second. I'll show you how to do this real quick. I think I might still be logged into my Calendly. So I'm going to go into Calendly and grab one of my links. And I'm also going to go and log into AttractWell. Okay, so in Calendly, you can have different links or different events. So let's just say, for instance, I want to embed this one onto a page, this one-on-one with me. I'm going to click it. Oh, sorry, that's not what I need to do. I'm going to go to share. This is just specifically for Calendly. So I go to share. Go to add to website, and this is going to be different if you use a different service, but it's going to be similar to this. We're looking for inline embed, and then we're going to see a code that looks a little bit like this, and I'm going to copy it. Then we go into AttractWell, into our dashboard. We go over to pages. We'll create a new page. I'll make it blank. And then I'm going to add a section that is just a one column, no header section. You're going to click to modify this. And what we're going to do is, you see where this text here, this filler text is, we're going to keep that there so we can find the space that we need to paste our code. Go to more miscellaneous and then head into your code viewer. And you can see where it says filler text, please replace with your text. We're just going to select that and paste over it that code. We're going to click done. And that form will now appear on your page. So you can actually see what it'll look like on different screens, etc. You could put this onto an existing page, just add that new section and paste the code in, and you're good to go. Hope that helps. All right. Well, you guys, it's been such a great year with you, doing these live calls and working with you on the amazing projects that you have going on in your business. And we are so excited to be working with you moving into 2023. We will be back on Thursday next week, next year, at 2 p.m. Eastern time. And again, we are so looking forward to our time together with you. Feel free. Sign up for these calls if you haven't done so already. If you're watching on YouTube, there will be a link in the description for you to get to sign up to be on these live calls. And of course, if you want to have a live review, a live chat session on a call like this, like these two folks did today, you of course can do that as well. We'll have the link in the description on YouTube. You guys, we love you and we hope you have a safe and happy new year. And we will see you next year. Take care, everybody.